Princess Lyria of Vasari stood on the high balcony of the royal palace, her silver-blue eyes watching the skyships descending from orbit. The ships carried the human delegation from Earth, arriving for the first peace exchange between their two worlds. Vasari welcomed many travelers every season, but this visit carried a special importance. Humans were still new allies, and their presence caused excitement across the entire kingdom. But for Lyria, the excitement came with something else, an odd heaviness in her chest. She felt it even before the ships landed, as if something familiar was coming toward her, something she had not felt in many years. She placed a hand over her heart and whispered, "Why does it feel like I am waiting for someone?" Her attendant, a young advisor named Miran, glanced at her. "Your Highness, are you nervous about meeting the humans?" Lyria shook her head slowly. "Not nervous. I do not know. A strange feeling. Like something from the past is returning." Miran laughed gently. "Perhaps it is simply the excitement of this visit. Takes like, let's 40-0. Lyria forced a smile, but deep inside she knew it was something different. There was a soft echo in her memories. A distant voice, warm and calm, guiding her through shadows. She remembered being a small child, frightened, unable to understand why the world around her was filled with smoke and shouting. She remembered a strong arm lifting her, holding her close. She remembered a voice whispering, "You're safe. I've got you." She never saw the face of her protector that night. The memory was blurry, broken, almost dreamlike. The royal guards later told her she had been rescued by a mysterious figure who disappeared after delivering her to safety. No one knew who it was or where they went. Lyria had always wondered. And today, for some reason, that childhood memory floated closer to her heart. As the skyship's doors opened, the human delegation stepped out. Diplomats, officers, scientists, and one man who stood at the front, tall, straight-backed, and calm. His uniform was simple, but his presence drew the eye. His dark hair was cut short, and his face was serious, almost unreadable. But there was something gentle in his eyes, something steady. The moment her gaze touched him, Lyria felt her breath catch. Her heartbeat changed rhythm, almost stumbling. "Who is that human?" she asked quietly. Miran followed her gaze. "Ah, that is Evan Hale, a security escort from Earth. They say he has served in several peace missions. Quiet man. Skilled. Respected. Evan Hale." Even the name sounded familiar in a strange way. Lyria studied him as he walked. His steps were controlled, careful, as if he carried a weight he did not want others to feel. When one of the younger diplomats stumbled on the ramp, Evan's hand flashed out to steady them. His voice, soft, reassuring, carried across the landing area for a moment. Lyria felt something warm rise in her chest. She did not understand why. Later that morning, she met the delegation formally in the Grand Hall. The hall was filled with the soft glow of crystal lights hanging from the ceiling. Humans and Vasari stood together, exchanging greetings and polite smiles. When Evan stepped forward with the escorts, Lyria watched him again. He bowed respectfully, and she nodded in return. For a moment, their eyes met. Her breath stopped again. There was something in his eyes, something she had seen once long ago, not with her eyes but with her heart. But Evan looked away quickly, as if he did not want her to study him too closely. Lyria spoke with the diplomats, welcoming them with warmth and kindness. Her training in royal manners was strong, and she smiled gracefully. But her attention kept drifting toward Evan. He stood at the edge of the room, always watching, always prepared to react if anything went wrong. But whenever she turned toward him, he lowered his gaze like he did not want her to feel uncomfortable, or like he did not want to be recognized. As the meeting ended, Lyria walked down the hall with Miran. "Tell me more about Evan Hale," she said casually, though her heart was far from calm. "Not much is written about him," Miran said. "He keeps to himself. The human diplomats say he does not talk about his past missions." "Why?" Lyria asked. "Maybe he is private, or maybe the missions were difficult." Lyria nodded, though her mind drifted again. She could not understand the strange feeling inside her. It was not fear, not excitement, not discomfort. It was something deep and wordless, like the echo of a memory trying to break free. Later that evening, Lyria went for a walk in the palace gardens. Stars shimmered above the glowing plants, and the night breeze carried the scent of blossoms. She liked walking alone here, away from formal duties, away from the noise of politics. But tonight, she was not truly alone. Far ahead, she saw Evan walking his patrol route. His steps were steady, his eyes scanning the area carefully. When a small palace servant tripped over a stone, Evan bent down and lifted them gently, speaking with such a calm tone that the child stopped crying almost at once. Lyria froze. That voice, that soft tone, she had heard it before. Long ago, on the night of the attack, the memory came rushing back. Smoke, fear, and the same soothing voice telling her not to cry. She took a slow breath, her heart pounding. This cannot be. It cannot be him, she whispered. But the feeling inside her kept growing, as if something inside her recognized him even if her eyes did not. She continued walking, pretending to admire the flowers. But she watched Evan from the corner of her eye. Every movement he made matched the memory in her heart. The way he checked corners before stepping through, the way he carried himself, the way he put others first. When he reached the far end of the garden, she hesitated but stepped toward him. "Human soldier," she said gently. Evan turned sharply, surprised. Then he bowed. "Your Highness." Lyria studied him closely. "You seem familiar." Evan's face remained calm, but something flickered in his eyes. "I do not think we have met before, Princess." His tone was polite, but something about his answer sounded practiced, as if he had said those words many times. She stepped closer, her eyes searching his face. "Are you sure? Sometimes the heart remembers things that the mind forgets." Evan looked away for a moment. "I am simply a soldier, Your Highness. Nothing more." But Lyria felt he was hiding something. She saw it in the tension of his shoulders, the way he kept his hands behind his back, the way his eyes softened whenever he looked at her. She wanted to say more, but a group of attendants approached, asking for her attention. She nodded and left, but her thoughts stayed on Evan Hale. That night, she sat in her private chamber, thinking about the mysterious protector from her childhood. She remembered holding on to a strong arm, feeling safe even as the world around her fell apart. She remembered a scar on that arm, thin, curved, shaped like a crescent moon. A scar exactly like the one she had seen on Evan's arm earlier that day. Her heart thumped loudly. No, it cannot be. Can it? She stood up and paced the room. She was not a child anymore, and she did not believe in wild guesses. But this was not just a guess. It was a chain of memories, a feeling that refused to fade, and a human soldier who acted exactly like her protector. "Why does he hide it?" she whispered to herself. "Why would he pretend we never met?" She decided she must learn the truth. The next morning, she requested access to old palace archives. The archivists brought her dusty memory crystals, broken data chips, and scattered reports from the night of the attack years ago. She studied each report carefully. One damaged memory crystal showed a blurry image, smoke, fire, and a tall figure carrying a small alien child close to his chest. The figure's face was hidden, but the outline of the body, it looked human. Lyria's hands trembled as she held the crystal. This looks like him." She placed her hand on her chest again. The strange heaviness returned, stronger this time. "Why does my heart believe it was him?" she whispered. No answer came, but she knew one thing clearly. She needed to confront Evan again. Part 1 ends with Lyria standing alone in the archive room, holding the broken memory crystal close, her voice soft but firm as she says, "I must know the truth, and he is the only one who can tell me." Princess Lyria woke early the next morning with the same thought she had gone to sleep with. Evan Hale is hiding something. The memory crystal from the archives was still on her table, its faint glow filling the room with a soft blue light. She picked it up gently, her fingers brushing over the damaged surface. Inside the crystal, Only a few seconds of the recording were clear, just enough to show the outline of her childhood protector. The figure held a small child close, shielding her from danger. The face was hidden, but the shape of the shoulders, the way the arms wrapped around the child, and even the protective crouch, all matched what she had seen yesterday in Evan. "I need answers," she whispered. Lyria dressed quickly and stepped out into the palace halls. The sun was just rising, casting long golden beams across the marble floors. The palace was quiet at this hour, but she knew the human guards began their patrols early. She intended to find Evan. Evan chooses distance. Evan Hale stood in the outer courtyard, checking the security scanners placed around the palace. He worked with silent focus, moving from one device to the next. His face looked calm, but inside, he felt uneasy. For the first time in years, the memories he worked so hard to bury were returning. Memories of a small alien child crying in his arms. Memories of smoke running through dark corridors and promising her she would live. He never expected to see Princess Lyria again. He certainly did not expect her to look at him with eyes that searched his soul. Evan took a deep breath, steadying himself. "I just need to finish this mission quietly," he told himself. No complications. But complications already existed because the princess was starting to remember. Their paths cross again. Lyria stepped into the courtyard with calm steps, though her heart beat quickly. Evan straightened the moment he saw her, bowing respectfully. "Good morning, princess," he said. She studied him for a long moment, her eyes soft but sharp. "Good morning, Evan Hale." He waited for her to speak, but when she said nothing, he shifted slightly. "Is there something you need, Your Highness?" "Yes," she said simply. "The truth." Evan froze. Lyria held out the memory crystal. "I found old recordings from the night of the attack on the nursery. The figure in this, he looks human." Evan's eyes dropped to the crystal, and for a moment his mask slipped. Something like pain flickered across his face. Lyria saw it. Her voice softened. "Please, tell me if this was you." Evan looked away, his jaw tightening. "Your Highness, many things in the past are unclear. Records are damaged. Memories can be, Evan." She stepped closer, her expression gentle, not demanding. "I do not ask this as a princess. I ask as someone who remembers being saved by a warm voice, by a calm hand, by a protector who disappeared before I could even thank him." Her words struck him like a quiet storm. Evan took a step back, shaking his head. "It is not important who saved you. You are safe now, and that is what matters. But it is important to me," she whispered. He hesitated, then bowed. "Forgive me, princess. I must continue my duties." He turned to leave, but Lyria watched the way his shoulders tightened, the way his steps grew faster, almost like he was running from something inside himself. She felt a wave of frustration and sadness rise in her chest. "Why does he fear telling me?" she whispered. The princess begins to observe. Throughout the day, Lyria watched Evan quietly. She saw him help a visiting diplomat carry heavy bags. She saw him guide lost servants back to their quarters with patience. She saw him gently comfort a scared palace animal that wandered into the halls. Every small gesture echoed the memories in her heart, memories of the night she was saved. When she spoke to advisors, her attention drifted. When she attended meetings, her mind wandered. She kept replaying his reactions, his tone, his retreat. Mirren noticed her distraction. "Your Highness, are you feeling unwell?" "No," Lyria said softly. "I am feeling something I do not fully understand." "Is it about the human soldier again?" Mirren asked. Lyria nodded. Mirren hesitated. "He seems good-hearted. Perhaps he does not want to cause trouble." "But why would my past be trouble?" she asked. Mirren frowned slightly. "Because if a human saved you when you were a child, it means your life was placed in the hands of someone outside the royal guard. Some people might find that surprising." Lyria went quiet. Yes. She could understand that. But she still deserved the truth. A chance discovery. Later that afternoon, Lyria passed by the training yard, where a few human soldiers practiced defensive drills. Evan stood among them, correcting their form with calm suggestions. His voice was firm yet gentle, carrying across the yard. Lyria stopped in the shadows and watched him. One of the visiting guards stumbled during a drill. Evan immediately stepped forward, steadying him with the same careful grip he once used to carry her as a child. At that moment, Lyria's memory sharpened, a flash of the past becoming clear. She remembered clinging to someone's uniform. She remembered the warmth of their arm. She remembered a crescent-shaped scar on their skin. Her gaze dropped to Evan's arm, and there it was. The same scar. A tremor ran through her. It was him. She felt certain now, even without his confession. When training ended, Evan dismissed the others and began storing equipment alone. Lyria took a deep breath and approached. "Evan," she said softly. He turned, surprise flickering across his face. "Your Highness? I saw your arm today." Her voice shook slightly. "I remember that scar. I held on to it as a child." Evan's expression changed. His calm mask cracked enough for her to see the truth he kept hidden. "Princess," he whispered. "You saved me," she said, tears forming in her eyes though her voice stayed steady. "Why did you hide it? Why do you pretend we never met?" Evan closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly. "Because it was meant to be a silent rescue. I was young. I was not supposed to be there. And He stopped himself, quickly regaining control. Lyria stepped closer. "I am not angry. I only want to understand." He shook his head. "Some truths complicate peaceful lives. You have a path, Princess. A royal path. If the kingdom learned that your childhood protector was a human cadet, it might cause questions, unnecessary attention." He sighed. "I wanted your life to continue without trouble." Lyria felt a soft ache in her heart. "And what about your life? You carried a child through danger. You saved me. Do you not deserve to be known?" Evan did not answer. His silence spoke louder than words. Her decision. She must know everything. That night, Lyria sat alone in her chamber again. The memory crystal lay beside her, glowing faintly. She closed her eyes and whispered, "He wants to hide because he thinks the truth will trouble me. But the truth does not hurt me. The silence does." She stood and walked to her window. Outside, she saw Evan on patrol again, moving quietly through the courtyard with the same protective grace. She felt drawn to him not because he was human, not because he served as a guard, but because he carried the same heart that once protected her when she was helpless. This connection. "I need to understand it," she whispered. In that moment, she made her decision. Tomorrow, she would look deeper into the archives. She would search for every file, every broken recording, every mention of that night. She would uncover the truth piece by piece even if Evan refused to speak, because her heart was certain now. Evan Hale was the protector she had been searching for all her life, and she would not stop until he admitted it. Princess Lyria spent the next morning in the royal archives again. Since Evan refused to speak clearly, she wanted to find the missing parts of the story herself. The archivists brought out damaged files, half-broken crystals, and old written reports. Most were unreadable, but Lyria searched patiently. Hours passed. Dust filled the air. Servants brought her food, but she barely touched it. Her mind focused on the faint flashes of memory smoke, a warm voice, protective arms, and the scar on Evan's arm. At last, one archivist approached her. "Your Highness, we found something." He handed her a fragile hollow tablet. Its screen flickered, barely functional. "This report was written by one of the palace guards years ago," he explained. It was thought lost. Lyria opened the file. Her eyes moved slowly across the ancient writing. Unknown figure carried Princess Lyria out of the nursery wing. Figure appeared human, height tall, carried child with care, shielding her until handoff to guard station. Figure disappeared before identity could be taken. Her breath trembled. There, it was written proof. A human saved her. She closed her eyes, whispering. Then it was truly him. Evan Hale. But another question rose inside her. Why did he hide it for so long? What was he afraid of? She lifted the hollow tablet gently, holding it against her chest. The truth was no longer a guess. It was certain now. and she would not let him walk away from it any longer. Evan battles his own truth. Outside, Evan walked along the palace walls, trying to focus on his duties. But his thoughts kept drifting to the princess and the painful conversation yesterday. He knew she deserved the truth. He knew she remembered pieces. He knew the memories had returned to both of them. Yet he still hesitated. Why is it so hard to tell her? He whispered to himself. Because he feared what would happen afterward. He feared that once she knew he was her protector, she would face political pressure. Some council members might claim humans were untrustworthy, or that the princess should not have personal ties to someone outside her people's tradition. He did not want his presence to complicate her royal responsibilities. He stopped near the fountain in the lower courtyard and closed his eyes. He remembered holding small Lyria in his arms as a frightened child. He remembered her tiny hand clutching his sleeve. He remembered whispering to her to stay calm while he protected her. He remembered placing her into the arms of a royal guard and disappearing before anyone asked questions. He never expected to see her again. Yet here she was grown, strong, gentle, and looking at him with eyes full of memory he tried to hide. Evan exhaled slowly. I cannot change the past. But maybe I can protect her future by staying distant. But his heart disagreed. Lyria approaches again. That afternoon, the princess found him in the same courtyard. Evan straightened quickly when he saw her, his face returning to calm professionalism. Your Highness, he said quietly. Lyria stepped closer, holding the ancient holo tablet behind her back. Evan, may I speak with you again? Privately? He hesitated. Of course. She walked with him to a quiet corner beneath the trees where sunlight fell through the leaves softly. Birds sang in the branches above them. It was peaceful. Almost too peaceful for the storm inside both their hearts. Lyria turned to him, her eyes gentle. I know you are hiding something. And now I know what it is. Evan's throat tightened. Princess, she held up the holo tablet. The guard who received me the night of the attack wrote this report. A human rescued me. A human carried me to safety. A human disappeared without giving his name. Evan's face grew still. She watched him silently for a moment, then whispered, It was you, wasn't it? His breath caught. His eyes lowered. For a few seconds, he said nothing, as if his voice had been locked away for years. Finally, he answered softly, Yes, it was me. Lyria felt her heart tighten. A mix of warmth and sadness. She stepped closer, her voice quiet. Why did you hide it? Why didn't you tell me? Evan looked away, guilt and fear mixing in his eyes. Because that night was not supposed to happen. I was a young cadet. I was not assigned to that wing. When I heard the alarms, I went on my own. If anyone learned the truth, it would have caused questions. It might have caused trouble between our species. He sighed deeply. You are a princess. A leader. Your life has meaning for your people. I did not want to tie your story to someone like me. Lyria stared at him with disbelief. Someone like you? Evan. You saved me. You risked your life for a child who was not even from your world. Yes, he said quietly. But sometimes the truth causes more weight than silence. Lyria shook her head slowly. You think telling me the truth would hurt me? I think it might change the way others see you, he said. And I did not want to be the cause of that. Her eyes softened with sadness. Evan, the only thing that hurts me is thinking you carried this secret alone. For the first time, Evan looked directly into her eyes. And in that moment, she saw the same warmth she once felt as a small child being carried through danger. Memories return. Lyria placed her hand gently over her heart. I remember your voice, she whispered. I remember the way you spoke to calm me. I remember holding onto your arm. I remember the scar. Evan's breath shook. He had kept those memories buried, believing she would never recall them. I thought you were too young to remember, he said softly. I remembered with my heart, even when my mind forgot, she replied. Silence settled between them, full of emotions too big for simple words. Evan's fear grows stronger. After a long pause, Evan stepped backward, the distance returning to his posture. Princess, now that you know the truth, it is best if I limit my interaction with you. She blinked. What? Why? Because your people may not approve, he said. Because knowing that a human saved you might lead to political misunderstandings. Because I want your life to stay peaceful. Lyria's eyes widened with hurt. You think walking away will protect me? Yes, he said firmly. I believe so. He bowed his head. I will request reassignment. I will leave Vasari with the next diplomatic ship. Her heart dropped. Leave? After finally discovering the truth, after waiting years without knowing her protector's name, after just reconnecting, he wanted to disappear again? Lyria felt a deep ache inside her chest. Evan Hale, she whispered, her voice trembling. Do not walk away from me again. I must, he said quietly. No, she said, shaking her head, stepping forward. You protected me then, but I am not a child now. I decide what I want. And I want the truth. I want understanding. I want you to stay. Evan closed his eyes, fighting the emotions rising within him. Princess, I cannot be part of your life. Not in the way you want. Evan, and what way is that? She asked softly. He swallowed hard. A way where my presence matters to you. Her breath caught. For a moment, neither spoke. The sunlight through the trees danced across their faces. Her declaration. Lyria stepped closer, her voice full of quiet strength. Evan, you mattered to me long before I knew your name. You were the first person who ever protected me. The first person who ever made me feel safe. And now you think you can walk away simply because of your fear? Evan looked at her with pain in his eyes. I do not want to burden you. You are not a burden, she said firmly. You never were. He looked away, struggling to keep his composure. Lyria's voice softened as she whispered, Evan, please do not leave. He took a deep, shaking breath. Princess. Before he could finish, a palace messenger approached, bowing quickly. Your Highness, the council requests your presence. It is urgent. Lyria stepped back reluctantly. Evan straightened immediately, returning to his guard stance. Before she left, Lyria turned to him and whispered with soft strength, This conversation is not over. You may fear the truth, but I do not. And I will not let you disappear from my life again. Evan stood frozen, her words sinking deep into his heart. As she walked away, he whispered to himself, How am I supposed to protect her, when she is the one breaking through every wall I built? End of Part 3. Princess Lyria walked through the palace halls toward the council chamber, her thoughts still tangled around Evan Hale's confession. Every step felt heavy. She had spent years wondering about her protector, imagining a mysterious figure she could never truly remember. And now she knew the truth. He had been beside her all along, quiet and humble, hiding his role out of fear of causing trouble. She could not understand how he believed that protecting her meant staying away from her. As she entered the council chamber, she straightened her posture. The Vasari council was serious and traditional, and though they respected her, they often judged anything unusual. She feared what they might say if they learned the truth about Evan, but she also knew she would not allow them to disrespect him. Not anymore. The council elders stood as she entered. Elder Saren, the oldest among them, bowed politely. Princess Lyria, thank you for coming. We have received reports about your studies in the archives. You have been revisiting the night of the nursery attack. Lyria nodded calmly. Yes, I have. Several elders exchanged looks. Elder Nira spoke gently. We know that night was traumatic for you, Princess, but the past cannot change. Why reopen it? Lyria lifted her chin. Because I have discovered the truth. A truth we have ignored for too long. Saren frowned slightly. And what truth is that? Lyria stepped forward. Her voice remained calm but firm. The protector who saved me was not a Vasari guard. It was not a royal soldier. It was a human. The room fell silent. Some elders gasped softly. Others exchanged uneasy glances. Elder Vareth cleared his throat. A human? Your Highness, are you certain? There has never been record of. There are records, Lyria said, holding up the holo tablet she found. Hidden, damaged, forgotten, but real. A human cadet carried me to safety. I want this truth accepted. Ander. The council members looked unsettled. Elder Saren finally said, "We do not question your honesty, Princess. But humans were not our allies at that time. The idea that one saved you may cause confusion." Lyria met his gaze calmly. Confusion is not a reason to hide the truth. The council went quiet again. Mirren, who stood quietly beside her, added softly, "Perhaps it is time we accept that the bond between our species began long before politics did." Several elders nodded reluctantly, but Elder Vareth still looked troubled. "Princess, if the Protector was indeed a human, where is he now?" Lyria swallowed gently. "He is here, in the palace," the council murmured in surprise. Saren's eyes widened. "You mean one of the Earth delegates?" "Yes," she said. "Evan Hale." Silence fell once more. Elder Nira spoke softly. "And, does he know you have discovered this?" "Yes," Lyria replied. "I confronted him. He admitted it." The elders exchanged long, thoughtful glances. At last, Saren spoke again. His voice quiet but respectful. "Princess Lyria, what do you wish to do with this truth?" Lyria hesitated just for a heartbeat. Then her voice came out steady and full of quiet power. "I want the truth to be respected, and I want Evan Hale to stay." Evan prepares to leave. While the council discussed the matter, Evan stood near the landing dock, staring at the human transport ship preparing for departure. His bag rested at his feet. Though he had not picked it up yet, he told himself he was doing the right thing. Leaving would keep the princess safe from questions, from criticism, from political tension. But the truth was more complicated. He was afraid of how close he felt to her, afraid of how her voice broke through the walls he had built for years, afraid of the connection between them, something gentle, something he never expected. He closed his eyes and whispered, "I should go. It's better for her." But his heart disagreed. He could still hear the way she said, "You mattered to me long before I knew your name." Those words replayed in his mind again and again, refusing to let him take another step toward the ship. Lyria searches for him. After leaving the council chamber, Lyria did not waste a moment. She hurried through the halls, determined to find Evan before he left without hearing the council's decision or hers. She searched the courtyards, the training yard, the gardens, but he was nowhere to be found. Mirren soon caught up to her. "Princess, someone said they saw the human escort near the landing dock." Lyria's heart dropped. "Is the transport ship still here?" she asked urgently. "Yes, but not for long," Mirren answered. Without waiting another second, Lyria rushed toward the docks. The confrontation at the dock. Evan looked up when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned and saw Princess Lyria running toward him, her breath quick and her eyes full of emotion. He felt his heart twist. "Princess, what are you doing here?" he asked softly. "What are you doing here?" she replied, stepping closer. Evan lowered his gaze. "I believed it was best. For your sake." "No," she said firmly. "You are wrong." He looked up in surprise. "The council knows the truth now," she continued. "I told them everything, and they did not reject it." Evan blinked in confusion. "But wouldn't they be upset?" "Some were surprised, some hesitant, but none told me to send you away. None told me your presence was wrong." Lyria took a deep breath. "Evan, I told them, I want you to stay." Evan stared at her, unsure if he heard correctly. "You want me to stay?" he whispered. Lyria nodded. Her voice softened. "Yes, I do." He felt his chest tighten. "Princess, why? I am just a soldier, a human. And you are a person who never forgot the warmth that saved her," she said gently. "A person who has searched for answers all her life. A person who feels safe when you are near." She paused, her voice shaking just slightly. "And I do not want you to walk away again." Evan's breath caught. Lyria. He almost never used her name. The sound of it felt new, fragile, important. She stepped closer, only inches away. You protected me when I was helpless. You carried me through danger without fear. And now you think you can disappear quietly? Like you did back then? No. I will not let that happen. Evan looked down, his voice quiet and conflicted. I feared being part of your life would complicate things. Lyria shook her head gently. Being part of my life is not a complication. It is an answer. Evan swallowed hard. I don't understand. You don't have to understand everything, she whispered. Just stay. His decision. Evan looked at the transport ship behind him. The ramp was lowering slowly, ready for boarding. A voice announced departure soon, but something inside him shifted. The fear that once controlled him began to fade. The walls he built around his heart softened. The weight of the past lifted, just enough for him to see clearly. He looked at Lyria, really looked at her. Her eyes were full of trust, warmth, and something he never expected. Hope. I will ask you one last time, Lyria said softly. Do you truly want to leave? Evan stared at her, the truth rising inside him stronger than his fear. No, he whispered. I don't want to leave. Lyria's eyes brightened, relief washing over her. Evan took a slow breath. If you want me to stay, then I will stay. The transport ship behind him closed its doors again, unnoticed by either of them. A new beginning. Later that evening, the council officially announced their acceptance of Evan Hale as an honored guest and protector of the royal family. Not a servant, not a shadow from the past. A protector by choice, and by the princess's request. Evan stood behind Lyria during the announcement. But this time he did not hide. He stood tall and steady, watching the Visari citizens accept him with quiet respect. When the ceremony ended, Lyria turned to him with a gentle smile. You stayed, she whispered. He nodded. Because you asked. And because, deep inside, he wanted to. Lyria extended her hand toward him in invitation, a gesture of trust. Evan hesitated only a moment before placing his hand in hers. Warm. Familiar. The same feeling she remembered from childhood. But now, stronger, deeper, and shared between two people who finally knew the truth. She looked at him softly. Evan Hale, you were my protector then. And now you choose to stay by my side again. He bowed his head gently. I will protect you now with everyone knowing, and with no more secrets. Lyria smiled, knowing their lives had changed forever. For the first time since that night long ago, both protector and princess stood together, no longer separated by fear, misunderstanding, or silence. Just truth, just trust, just a bond that had begun in fire and now grew in light. The story ends with Lyria saying quietly to him, the moment I discovered my childhood protector was you, my life changed. And I am glad it did. And Evan replying softly, I am glad it brought me back to you.